Good evening, everyone. I'm going to just wait one more second, see if anyone else wants to join us. This is also being recorded as well, so you could watch this 3 or 4 times this month if you wanted to. And you may want to, because we've got a star-studded panel of experts at Life at Boston College right here. Hope I didn't sell it too hard, guys, but I like to think that we've got a lot of good information for people that, as they're trying to figure out how they want to participate in athletics in college, as they try to have a vision of how it's all going to work out for them. Some of the information you give them is going to be helpful for wherever they go, and especially if they come to Boston College. So I want to thank all of you guys for joining us. And for those of you that are watching this recorded, where were you? It's November 8th. It's election day. You voted to join us tonight. We're really happy that you did. I'm your host. My name is Chris O'Brien. I'm Associate Director of Admissions. And you are in part 7 of our 7-part series of Look into Boston College. Tonight, I titled it Eagles in Motion. And it's going to be a talk about athletics. I'm wearing my BC athletic gear. I'm wearing my BC baseball shirt. And I have 4 athletes of very different levels and very different skills at Boston College that we're going to talk about how athletics suits the needs of a lot of students at Boston College. I know a lot of you guys are tuning in are high school athletes, whether that's in organized sports, or you run triathlons, or you're at a dance studio or a gymnastics studio, and you're thinking about how this is all going to wind up in a place for you in college so you can meet friends and you can make these great memories and have these great experiences that'll be with you for a lifetime, no matter what level of athletics they are. So we're going to talk tonight about the intramural level of athletics and how that works at Boston College. And some of you might go to high schools where intramurals are a big part of life there. We're going to talk about the club level of athletics, which is more of a recent incarnation of this level that is competitive and it's organized and it's intercollegiate, yet it might be a step down from some of the demands and some of the level of varsity athletics. And then we're going to talk to varsity athletes and talk a little bit about how that process worked for them to come to Boston College and how they're able to balance some of the larger commitments of being a varsity athlete at Boston College with some of the other commitments that are very important to them in their life. All along the way, if you have a question or two, you certainly can send it through the Q&A to us. If it's a good question, we'll use it. If it's not a good question, we won't say it's a bad question. We'll just definitely move around it and move to other topics that might be more interesting. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through sort of one panelist at a time, and we're going to talk about one level of athletics to another, and then we'll talk about some general things, and then again, see if there are any questions that you have. So I'm going to start with Cate first. And Cate, why don't you start with just a quick introduction? Tell us who you are and where you're from, what year you are at BC, and what you study.
Hi, everybody. I'm Cate Fessenmyer. You can see that from my little name tag on my picture. I'm from New York City, Manhattan, and I'm studying in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences. I'm a communication major.
Fantastic. So, Cate, what we're going to do is sort of introduce people to the world of intramural athletics at Boston College. So, again, many of you have done tours and information session at colleges. Maybe you've heard about how this is such a big part of what life is like in college. Maybe you go to high schools where intramurals are a big part of things here. So let's talk about intramurals at Boston College. How does when they arrive on campus, learn about intramural sports? And how do people get involved in intramural sports at BC?
I think the way that most people learn about intramural sports is the same way they learn about a lot of activities on campus. And I would say the club fair is sort of the first place that I got to jump into figuring out what the heck intramurals even meant, because for me, that wasn't a part of my high school experience. My high school did not offer an intramural sort of sports world. We only had our JV and varsity athletics. And there's flyers everywhere. There's teams set up, looking for people. And the site that BC uses for intramurals, it's called Intramural Leagues. And it's a site that a lot of different colleges use. And you can also register. So you can first register with a team. So if you have a group of friends, you can register for different sports as a team, but you can also register as sort of this open agent. And so different teams can pick you up if they need players. So that's also a really cool way to meet people, because you kind of just join random teams and get to make friends that way.
So Kate, now this might be awkward, but did you have any friends like your early days at Boston College? And did you join teams with your friends, or were you one of these like independent agents that was so good at athletics that someone wanted to grab you and be part of their roster?
A little bit of both.
Oh, okay.
I actually, so I came into my freshman year with a torn ACL, so I couldn't actually play. But I had attended one of these admitted students webinars and met a admissions student who was also running an admissions team. And he offered me a spot to join that team before I had even begun my freshman experience. So I had an in there, which was a crazy thing. And then I also, sort of met some friends in orientation the first week. And it something that's great about your orientation week as a freshman is everybody's very eager to meet people. And so as long as you're willing to jump into situations that sometimes might make you uncomfortable, like joining a team of random strangers to play a sport that you love, you can find this like shared mutual interest over it. And that was something I also did.
Now, what if you're not very like, I don't know, Kate, if you're any good at athletics. You tore your ACL. For all I know, you tore it falling down a flight of stairs. So, I don't know if you're any good at anything athletic, but do you have to be good in athletics to be like a participant in intramural sports, or can you just be very recreational, very low key, very casual about it?
There are different levels of leagues in the intramurals. So whatever you want your intramural experience to be, you can gear it towards that way. We have sort of more competitive intramural leagues. We have more recreational. We have co-rec, all women's, all men's. So there's a huge spread of different levels and different intensities. So whatever you're sort of looking for, you can do. I grew up playing soccer and basketball, so I tend to geared towards some more competitive versions in those sports. And then I play pickleball with my friend, and I've never played pickleball before. And so we don't go in a competitive league usually.
Do you get the sense that intramurals are well organized at Boston College? Like people show up at the games, there's someone who's in some position of authority that's refereeing or organizing the games. Like there's not just forfeits every week. Do you feel like Boston College, whether it's athletics or the recreation complex, has a good sense of who should be there, how well the schedule works? Do you get a sense that it's well organized?
Definitely. I think people don't realize how hard it is to run so many different levels of sports at a university, intramural, club, and varsity, because everybody uses sort of the similar field space or court space or gym space. And so if the schedule wasn't organized, nothing would work. So sort of the fact that it's able to run shows that, there's a lot of people working underneath to make it happen. I have friends who are referees or supervisors of the referees, and that's a really fun job you can do on campus too. But they, organize everything. They check everybody in, they get the gear in. And a tradition we have for intramurals at Boston College is once you win one, you get a mug that says champions on it. And they also organize the distribution of the very prized mugs.
Have you won a mug, Kate?
I have one too, actually.
Oh, you have? Really? Congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't see them displayed anywhere, like over your shoulder or
It's,
anything. Oh, here we go.
It's behind the camera.
All right, there you go.
What it looks like in all of her glory. So
yeah, that's good. That you're I'm sure the envy of everyone on your hall.
definitely.
And then lastly, Kate, just in terms of like where you play, like, talk about the facilities. Are you mostly in the recreation complex? Do you use the fields close by? Other fields and facilities in good shape? I mean, do you feel like these are legitimate games you're playing on legitimate facilities or fields?
The craziest thing that happened to me playing intramurals was like having my first soccer game scheduled my freshman year and showing up or like clicking onto the intramural league's website and seeing alumni field as the field. I was like, wait, hold on a second. I'm about to play like a soccer game on alumni field. And that was a really cool moment to like go out there and play. So as I sort of mentioned before, like with the scheduling, we play on similar fields as the club and the varsity teams at just different times of the day and things like that. So just depending on the season, obviously in the fall and spring, it's a little bit warmer outside. So you can play like outside on alumni fields. But if you're playing basketball, that's obviously going to be inside the recreation center. And once the weather sort of gets colder, you'll play inside our fish field house, which is an indoor field similar to alumni, but then you won't be exposed to the frigid cold of Boston. So that's obviously ideal.
Which it may never get cold. It's like 60 degrees every day, Cate. So we don't know if it'll get cold yet, but that's a great foundation, Cate. Thank you. We'll get back to you with a couple of other questions and maybe some questions of the crew that's joining us. So thanks, Cate. That's a good start. Now, Shriya, we'll turn it over to you and we'll talk about this layer between intramurals and varsity athletics, club athletics. So if you could talk a little first, I need an introduction, like who you are and where you're from, and the same thing I asked Cate. And then again, if you want to go into the first question, which would be the same as I asked Cate, how do you find out about club sports at Boston College, and how did you find your club sport at Boston College?
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Shriya and I'm a sophomore goalie on the women's club soccer team. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm a neuroscience major in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences. So the first time I found out about club soccer was actually over the summer before I came to BC. I actually looked up like the women's club soccer team on Instagram and I found their account. And there's like a little link, and I think this is the same for a lot of club sports. And there's like a link in the bio where you can join their email list. So over the summer, they'll like send you updates about like when tryouts will be and any other information you need to know before you're on campus. And another way that a lot of people found out about club sports is orientation. There's like a mini like club fair at orientation where a lot of like the captains who stay over the summer, they're usually posted up outside orientation where you can like get information and like give your email to them so they can also put you on the email list. And then there's also like the activities fair, which is the first week of school. So a lot of people find out through that too.
So who's in charge of a club sport? Is there a coach? Is there a captain? Is it a president? Is it all of them? Like, who's in charge?
Yeah. So it's actually like all of them. It depends definitely on the sport. For women's club soccer, we have 4 captains and we also have a coach. But for other teams, there's just captains that run the whole thing. But for my team, like our captains and our coach work together to kind of get everything sorted out.
So what's your competition like? You're a club sport, you're intercollegiate. So do you have games on the weekends? Do you play a fall and spring season? Give us a little sample of what your week is like and what your competition's like.
Right. So we have our fall season and we don't play in the spring, but in the spring that we have like a couple of like futsal sessions. But in the fall, we have 3 practices a week and then we have games on the weekend. So those games are either at home or they're away. So yeah.
And who do you play?
We play like neighboring schools. So a lot of Boston schools, and then we also play schools in like New Jersey.
You guys any good?
We actually had a good season this year. We won our regional tournament, which was really exciting.
Great.
So now we're going to nationals in a couple of weeks, which is in Texas.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys have to, like, is there a lot of interest? Do you have tryouts? I mean, do you have to cut people, or how does it work? I mean, a lot of people want to be interested, have an interest in playing, but there's only so many places on the team. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so tryouts are the first week of school. We get about like 60 to 7 people to try out and about 5 to 8 people make it. So it is pretty competitive. But when I came in, a lot of the girls on the team were super understanding that people haven't played in a little while. But yeah, I'd say it is decently competitive. But I think it also depends on the club sports teams, because for soccer, we have a roster about 25, but for rugby and ultimate frisbee, like those rosters are a lot bigger. So they definitely take more kids.
Well, it sounds like you know some other club sports. Like, what other club sports are there? I mean, this is a case where there's a varsity level and a club level, and that's the case with many of the club sports, but not all of them. So, I don't know if you can rattle them all off, Shriya, but maybe you know many of the other club sports. Maybe you have friends that play other club sports. What other club sports are there at BC?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of club sports. So for women's, I think there's rugby, then there's ultimate frisbee, water polo, then there's field hockey, and then lacrosse. And then there's kind of like the same amount for men's too. There's definitely more, but I can't think of all of them.
Well, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. When I think of club, like Cate said, and like you said, I think of like the club fair and like how people are finding people like them that are passionate about a certain thing. Like they're passionate about, finance, or they're passionate about service, or they're passionate about music. So, I mean, we don't have any fraternities and sororities at our school. Like, do you find like the club soccer team is like your sorority? Like, are those the people that you go to parties with? Is that the people that you go to into Boston to go to dinner with? Is that the people that you hang out with? Do you find that's the people that you spend your most time with?
Actually, yes. So when I came in, I didn't actually expect for club soccer to be like a huge part of my social life, but it is. A lot of the girls on the team are like some of my closest friends. So I definitely found a community that I didn't really expect in club sports. And I think that's the case with a lot of club sports too. I think a lot of people found like their closest friends through club sports. So
And with 3 practices a week, a game or 2 on the weekend, a busy fall, but not a very busy spring. Like, do you find it hard to balance? Like, you still get your work done, you still get to be a normal student, even though you got a pretty busy fall?
yes, for sure. I definitely it's hard with 3 practices a week. Ours are 3 practices in 2 hours. So it takes up a large part of my day. But I think that it kind of taught me time management skills that I didn't and it's also nice in the spring when you don't have as heavy of a schedule and you learn how to like have a lot of time management skills like that.
Perfect. Well done. All right. So we sort of introduced people to the world of club sports, which are picking up all over the country in terms of how many people are getting involved in club sports, how many different options there are for students at these schools. So perfect, Shriya. And we may get back to you if there are more questions about club sports at BC. We're going to stay on the soccer pitch, and we're going to talk to Andrea. Andrea, let's hear a little bit about you in terms of where you're from, what you study. I'll fill in the details. You are a member of the women's soccer varsity team. So let's hear just a tiny little bit about you and what your deal is at Boston College.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea Barth. I go by Andy. I'm from Minnesota. I'm a sophomore on the women's soccer team. And
What do you study?
I'm in the Carroll School of Management. I'm in CSOM, and I'm going to major in finance.
Not yet, though?
I mean, I'm on the way. Yeah.
All right, Andy. So we can take it back just a little bit in terms of, going through the recruitment process and college selection process as a varsity athlete, and talk a little bit about why you chose to come to Boston College. I would imagine that it was a combination of a school, the community, the athletic opportunity. Well, I don't want to take all your thunder away. Like,
Yeah.
What were the things that were important to you when you made your selection to come to Boston College?
Yeah, I think going into the recruiting process, I kind of knew that I wanted education to be the highlight of that process. I knew that was going to carry me into my future. I wanted that to be like the focal point, not just going to a school to play soccer. I knew I wanted to go somewhere that I'd love, even if I wasn't playing the sport, just in case that part didn't work out. And I think BC was just perfect, like the Jesuit aspect. Obviously great academics, the great business schools, which was what I was looking for. And I met the team, and it really just seemed like a culture that I thought I'd fit into well. And obviously it's been a lot different than I expected, but it's been very rewarding, and is exactly what I was looking for. I'm very happy here.
So there might have been some surprises.
Yep.
All good?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot larger of a commitment than I thought it was going to be. In high school, I mean, I was more like on the club level. I played at a very high level in club, but it was more similar to like the club sports here at BC. So I think there are certain parts of the year where soccer just kind of becomes your life, and obviously you have to balance that with school. I think that was probably the most challenging part of just becoming a college student athlete as opposed to a high school student athlete, where I mean, academics ramped up to a new level, but you're also kind of living in soccer at times. So that was the biggest challenge for me.
Well, let's talk about that, Andy. I had the luxury of at least, working with you through the process. So I knew that you had, you expected high academic standards of us, and you had done really well in high school. So I'm sure finding the balance of academics and athletics was really important. So how does athletics, how did you sort of make that work? Are there requirements? Like, are you expected to meet certain requirements, be in study hall, or are these things that you put on yourself because that's you have pride in what you do, and that's how you do things?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both. I think that it's really dependent on what path you choose, like your major, what school you choose. For me personally, as a freshman on the soccer team, we were required to complete study hall hours. We do get an academic advisor who, I think throughout the first semester, maybe even into the second semester, we'd meet with them once a week and just kind of go over our schedule for the week. In terms of like homework help, that was kind of something you'd seek out on your own. It's very nice. We have tutors through the like athletic department, I guess. So you get a lot of access to that, which is very helpful, especially just like being a freshman and not really knowing how to navigate it. But yeah, in terms of academics, they do give you resources to succeed, and you just kind of got to figure it out as you go.
Well, and you alluded to it, but I'm sure missing class every once in a while because of travel commitments is tough, and you have to monitor that yourself in order to keep things right. I mean, I'm sure, you know, you're having your own adventures and you're with your team, and there's great benefits of that, but you know, missing time in class or missing time on campus can be tough too, I bet.
Yeah, the teachers have all been really great about it. They all are very excited that I've like chosen to play a sport as well. And they know that I think they are really understanding, especially if you put in the time to communicate with them. And they know that you want to do well in their class, but they've all been very helpful in trying to navigate missing like 5 days of school at a time, multiple times throughout a singular season. So it's definitely very difficult, and I'd obviously rather be in class, but they will give you the resources to succeed even if you're not in class. They have recordings of class, and teachers are understanding deadlines and everything.
How many hours a week do you have your cleats on, Andy?
A lot more than is accounted for. I guess during the season, that's kind of our heaviest load. I guess I'm usually up at 6:30 and not really out of the training area until like 11:30 noon in the morning. It's obviously different when we're traveling and like what our schedule looks like in terms of games, but that's basically an everyday thing. So a large chunk of my day is dedicated to soccer, and I think it's something you really have to love to choose to do a Division I sport in college, just because of the time commitment. You gotta love it. You gotta love the people you're with and love the program you're in. So I think that like in choosing a program, it's really important to ask a lot of questions and to really try to figure out as much as you can about the people, about the staff, about the resources you'll be given to really succeed and be able to do it well.
And the players, you know, I asked Shriya about the teammates, and I'm sure you spend a lot of time both on the field, but in the training rooms, traveling with the girls on the team. I would think that they're some of your closest friends at Boston College too, right?
Yeah, they are. I've been very blessed with the girls I've met. I don't think I could have entered a better program. I think I get along well with a lot of them, and I think that's kind of a given. We've all kind of dedicated our lives to the same thing, and all kind of have the same goals and succeeding both in the classroom and out of the classroom on the field. So I think we're all very driven in the same ways. All very nice girls, and I think that really helps. It helps that I get along well with all of them. I met some of my best friends and do spend a lot of time with them, but we always kind of joke, like once we spend 5 days together, we'll get off the plane home, and we'll all be like, how's your flight? Like, I missed you guys, and kind of just be really excited to see each other, just waiting for our baggage to arrive at the baggage claim. So we don't get tired of each other. We do have our moments, but I think that when you really find a place that you love and people that love it also, it's really helpful in getting through the journey.
One last thing, Andy, and I don't say this from a negative way. I say this, you know, just to make sure that everyone understands like what it goes into being a varsity athlete at a school like BC. Like, do you still have every opportunity open to you if you wanted to do research, if you wanted to get an internship, if you wanted to do, I mean, are you prohibited or limited in terms of doing what other students do at Boston College because of your athletic commitment? Or do you find that you're very much supported if you wanted to do something that's requires an extra hour or two a week, or if you want to do something that's off campus, do you feel like, just like any other BC student, athletics and your coach and your team would support you in doing it.
Yeah, I'm really glad you touched on that. I think just to begin with the social aspect, I knew that I didn't want my college experience to be in any way like detrimented by like the path I chose, especially in college athletics. I think that BC is a really special place where most of my closest friends actually aren't on my soccer team. Like I'm also very close with my soccer team, but I do have so many friends outside of the team. And I think that there are a lot of places where that doesn't happen. So I think that the athletes and the students that don't play sports are also like very well integrated. I think that's been a great experience for me. In terms of clubs and other things, I have been able to join clubs. I'm part of the Irish Society, which is not a huge commitment, but it's kind of fun. I'm hoping to join the Investment Banking Association, which is a little bit more of a commitment, but I'm lucky that most of the weight falls in the spring when our season's lighter. I think that there is a part of the year where there's not that much soccer and you get kind of a break. So I think that's kind of a time where you can really like balance the social aspect and the school aspect really well with not as much athletics going on. But I think that BC is a really great place where student athletes are not limited in any way, in any other aspect of the college experience.
That's a great answer, Andy. Thank you. And you said that women's soccer is the best program on campus. You must not have been to the pool, right, Elena? Because
no, I don't go in the water very often. I do actually live with a couple swimmers, so I do know a couple.
so because Elena might beg to differ with your characterization of what the best athletic program is. So
Okay,
last but not
favorite.
least, Elena, thanks for being patient. And I think I gave away what sport you play at Boston College, but if you could just introduce yourself really quick, who you are, where you're from, what you study, that'd be great.
Hi everybody, I'm Elena. As Mr. O'Brien said, I'm a freshman on the swim and dive team. I'm a swimmer. I'm in MCAS. I came in as a pre-med track student, majoring in biology, and I'm currently transitioning into an undecided major for the second half of my first semester on the pre-law track.
I love to switch from pre-med to pre-law. Well done, Elena. Well done.
Thank you.
Awesome. So on top of the demands of being a varsity athlete, you've had the demands of being a first-year student.
Yes.
So your head must be spinning. I hope that there's been a lot of people that have stepped up and supported you. Upperclassmen on the team, your RA. Just tell me that the transition to Boston College, despite where your major has changed, because people change their major no matter what, but you feel like after a couple months, you feel like you've been well supported here, from being, because home for you is
Reno, Nevada. Very far.
Right. So a long way from home. So talk a little bit about how the transition's been and who's been helping you with the transition here as a student and as an athlete.
So kind of as stated, I am a West Coast girly, West Coast represent. So my transition is pretty far. Coming into it, luckily, I followed the BC class of 2026 Instagram page. Each class kind of makes one as people start flowing in through admissions. And so I reached out and made some friends through there, which was really nice, just knowing I had some familiar faces on campus when I arrived. I also was very lucky to have the incoming freshman as well on my swim team. So just kind of having that familiar sense that we're all in this together. We're all starting off our collegiate sports, just really going for it was really nice as well. And then I'm trying to think. My RA is great. I love my RA. They reach out to you when you find out your housing assignments. She's super cool. I see her in the hallway. I always say hello. Obviously coaches as well has been amazing. We actually were just blessed with a brand new coaching staff this year. So everybody kind of had that first introduction with him, and my coach is amazing. I really like him, and he actually coached on the West Coast. So we knew some familiar people, had some connections. So that was really nice to have. But the transition, as hard as a lot of people may think, was actually, I would say, pretty smooth going for me. My mom's a BC alum. She also swam at BC. And so funny enough, her college roommates, their kids are here now. So they're both sophomores. And then there's also one who's a freshman in my class. So I also had them to fall back on as well.
I didn't know that whole backstory. That's awesome, Elena. I
Yeah.
didn't know about your mom, and I didn't. Wow.
Mhm.
I just thought you were
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
I didn't know this whole backstory.
Had to
Anyway,
shout her out. I got my genes from somewhere.
I asked Andy about how much she has her cleats on. How much are in the pool?
I'm in the pool a lot more than expected, similar
It's
to
the same answer
Andy.
that Andy gave.
It's a big commitment without a doubt. My practice schedule is a lot more intense than my club practice schedule was back at home. Because on top of it, not only am I swimming in the pool twice a day, 3 times a week, and then I also have lift those same days. 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we lift for an hour, which was something new for me. I'd never lifted before. And I was a little bit intimidated going into it, I will admit. But now that I'm in it and I'm getting her done, I love lifting. It's a great transition from being in the pool all the time. I kind of get to have some dry land experience. So I love it. I love lifting, but it is definitely a lot.
Now swimming, is one of those sports where, like with soccer, it's maybe harder to judge the level of the competition. If Andy's scoring 3 goals, we don't know if she's scoring 3 goals against, a lousy competition or great competition. But swimming something that's timed rigidly, swimming something that the events are pretty standard. So when you were going through all that recruitment process, when you were trying to decide whether BC would be a good fit for you athletically, I mean, were you able to use things like that, or did you, just go after the best school that you thought and hope that the swimming fit would also match? How did this all work for you in terms of selecting the college that you were going to be at?
So my college recruitment process was very unique comparative to the rest of my swim team. I kind of started my sophomore year during COVID when I had nothing better to do. So I started researching schools and I made a list of things that I wanted to look for in a school. The first was obviously the education. I wanted somewhere I could have a good education and would help me with my future. Second was location. I wanted somewhere that was in a fun city with a lot of opportunities. What better place than Boston? Third of all, campus. I love the aesthetic. I'm an aesthetic person. The campus here is absolutely amazing. If you haven't already, please go look up images because it is the prettiest campus in my opinion. And then kind of last came my athletics. I obviously wanted to swim in college at the Division I level, and I knew how much time and effort it takes to get there and how much it is once you get to that level and are actually doing it. But I just kind of went with the flow, I guess, with mine. It is nice that you do get to go back. You can go look at the times posted from each team, see kind of where you stack up. But I will admit, don't be discouraged by those times. Dual meet times are not where you're swimming your fastest. It's at the end of the season is what matters. And you also have to remember that as a club, like in high school and swimming or whatever sport you're playing at the club level is a lot different than when you get to college. Like I said prior, like I'm lifting now, I'm training more than I ever have. So there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of potential when looking, and that's what coaches like to see. We are in an extremely tough conference. I will admit it's a tough conference. We're swimming against girls who have Olympic records who swim for the U.S. national team, but to some that might be really intimidating. But to me, I looked at it as opportunity because not every day you get a race against an Olympian and you learn a lot, and it's good competition, and you kind of can push yourself to new limits and say like, oh, I touched out somebody who swims with Kate Douglas on the U.S. Olympic team, like just cool things like that. But so my recruiting process was a little bit different than most people. But in the end, it worked out for me, and you just kind of have to go with what's going to be the best fit for you at the end of the day.
Boy, you really put a positive spin on that. That was amazing, Elena. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Now 2 months have gone by, maybe 2.5 months. And again, you've been swimming, you've been going to school, you've been meeting all these friends, you're away from home. Have you missed anything? I mean, has swimming taken up so much time that you haven't been able to do the normal freshman things? Or do you even do more than the normal freshman thing because you meet all these different people, you've traveled a little bit already? I mean, do you feel like these 2 months have gone by really fast and you haven't been able to do as much as you want? or have you done more than everybody else?
The 2 months have gone by extremely fast. The fact that it's almost the second weekend in November now is actually insane to me. But I mean, I will admit, there are things I have missed out on, but at the end of the day, like, I'm doing things that most people don't get the opportunity to do, and would be extremely grateful and would love to do this. And so I think that I'm actually getting more out of, say, missing a football game, or, not getting to go out on the weekends and go frolic around downtown Boston. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, I made this commitment, I made this choice, and I'm beyond glad and beyond grateful that I have this opportunity and I am here doing it. We do things as a team, like when we don't get to go out or when we're at a meet, we all host things as a team. Like, for example, like this weekend, all of the freshmen were having a gingerbread house making competition all together, and that's super exciting and super fun. Sure, it's not going out on the town, but it's our own kind of fun, and it brings us closer as a team and as a freshman class for sure. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, yes, you do miss out on things, but I've still had the same experience as everybody else. I'm still a part of clubs. I'm still, taking classes. I'm meeting people. I do go out on the town occasionally. I like to explore the city. We went to the Italian festival like the first week of school, which was super cool. So I am still getting those same experiences, and I love it. I think it's a great mix for me of, having that sense that I'm a part of a team. I have to act a part of the team, and I also like have the sense where I can go out and have fun, and we do things as a team. So I wouldn't say I've missed out on a whole lot.
Just out of curiosity, Elena, do you live with someone on the swim team, or is your roommate just like another student?
I'm actually the only swimmer on the swim team who is not rooming with another swimmer. I'm rooming with a girl on the women's hockey team. Shout out Shay. I love her. Anyways, I love rooming with somebody who's not on the team. I love my swim team. They're great. But we see each other all the time with our schedules. I don't think I would have a problem moving somebody on the team at all. I just kind of wanted to, like, going into it, it was, hey, you can room with somebody on the team, or you can room with another athlete, or you can go random and room with somebody who's not an athlete. They did encourage me to room with somebody who was an athlete. And schedule-wise, that is something that I looked for, because it's a little bit different when your roommate gets to wake up at 11 a.m. and kind of roll out of bed when I'm going to be up and at them at 6:15 in the morning. And it's a different mindset as well, just being an athlete versus somebody who's not, I believe. But so I am rooming with a hockey player next year. We're already talking housing for next year, but I'll probably room with some swimmers. I'm probably going to room with some track people. I'm still going to room with my roommate Shay. We're going to try and get an 8-man. Fingers crossed the housing process goes well. But yeah, so I'm rooming with a hockey player.
Well, there's kind of like the water motif there. It's frozen water and pool. Like, I get it a little bit. And Andy, I should ask you too. Like, you might be in an apartment or a suite. Do you live with a lot of athletes or soccer players, or no?
Last year, my direct as a freshman was a girl on my team. Our coach kind of just assigned us, and it was a good thing to have, I think, just adjusting in the same way. This year, I'm living with another soccer girl as my direct, and I'm also living with a couple track girls, a couple swimmers, and a golfer. And next year, I'm actually living with all non-athletes, and then 2 of my closest friends on the soccer team. So I think I really don't think you can go wrong. I think that there's pros and cons to living with non-athletes and athletes, being an athlete yourself, but it's all fun.
I totally get it. Totally get it. All right. So I'm going to wrap this up with just a couple last questions. Shriya, just talk about athletics at Boston College athletics in general. Like, do you go to games? Did you go to the basketball game last night? Do you go to football games? Have you caught one of Andy's soccer games? Like, are games well supported? Are you a part of the fan community? Do BC students support student athletes?
Yeah, for sure. I say personally, I have been to a lot of like the women's soccer games, and the football game. So it's definitely a huge part of my social life. Like I love going to the athletic events. And I don't think that club soccer necessarily takes away from that. Like there's always time to like go to the athletic events. So I think that's really nice for us.
Cate, I would bet, especially rehabbing an ACL and being down in the Plex a lot, what if people just want to like do a Zumba class or work out before class or take a study break? And like, how active are the recreation facilities at BC?
Very active, very active. There's lots of group classes every week. I personally am a huge fan of body pump, which was something I'd never heard of before I came, but one of my roommates is a spin instructor, so I go to those classes sometimes. We have a very active campus, lots of stairs. It is called Chestnut Hill. So you'll get your fair amount of movement, whether or not you're on a sports team.
Elena, you're still very young, but you're so optimistic. I mean, it really just fills my heart to hear your optimism. Let's look to the future. Let's hear about your bucket list. I think we always love hearing first-year students talk about their bucket list. Like, what's your goal? What are the things that you want to get accomplished at BC? Athletics, primarily, but way beyond athletics. What are the things you want to get done at BC?
From an athletic standpoint, I obviously am a freshman, so I haven't had the opportunity to go and compete at ACC champs. So athletically, that's my goal this year, is to be able to make the team for our championship meet. Fingers crossed it goes well. And I think at BC, oh my God, there's so many things that I have yet to experience, like my first marathon Monday. I'm very, very excited for that. I want to join some more clubs next year, maybe even next semester. I would like to live in a mod, as crazy as it sounds. My mom lived in a mod, so I'm hoping that maybe I'll get to travel down her path. Her mod is still standing. We say hello to it every time she comes. So maybe I'll get lucky and I'll get to live in a mod my senior year. But honestly, I'm just excited for everything. Like, I'm only 2.5 months in basketball season. I'm a big college basketball girl, March Madness. So I'm excited for that. Maybe we'll make it this year. We'll see. But I'm just excited to be here, do whatever. Maybe I didn't get to go to any Red Sox games, so that's on my bucket list. Maybe a Celtics game. We'll see. But I'm excited for whatever to come.
That sounds good to me.
I could take.
Elena, that's kind of the answer I expected from you. And Andy, you can finish it off by just talking about, the culture that you're part of in BC athletics, and what do you think it stands for? What do you hope that people from the outside that see your team compete, or the men's soccer team, or the men's ice hockey team, or again, the 31 teams that are BC, like, what's it about being a BC varsity athlete? What's the message you're trying to convey, other than a college cup or other than national championships? Like, what do you hope people understand about you guys as student athletes at BC?
Well, I think that overall, just school pride is really a big part of who BC is. I think being an athlete, especially when I came in, I was introduced to a lot of athletes. I've made a lot of really great friendships across the sports teams, and I think that's really developed a great community within BC athletics itself. So I think we all really like support each other, lift each other up. I do like attend a lot of sports games, and it's kind of fun. I can be like, there's my best friend. Like, it's really fun. It's really great to see them succeed. And I think that really carries into just the school pride as a whole, just watching your friends succeed and watching your fellow student athletes succeed. But I mean, I think our school pride, you can see it at football games. I did go to the basketball game last night. It was packed. Fans all very into it. So I think that's a really fun part of who BC is, and how students lift each other up. So I think we have great school pride.
And my input here is, like, I know Coach Lowe and Coach Schramm, and I Coach Grant in basketball, and some of the coaches and the athletic staff are just great, and I think they uphold a lot of the things that you just talked about, Andy, in terms of school pride, but also doing things the right way, and your development as young men and young women at BC. So I think the athletic department does a nice job, and I just wish we had a little bit more success. That would make it a little bit more, I don't know, fulfilling, but it's still fulfilling.
Yeah.
It is. So I'm not going to say it's not fulfilling, but it's totally fulfilling. Just a few more wins would make us all just a little bit happier.
A lot more wins.
A lot more wins, and including Thursday night, Andy. Finish this regular season off right.
We actually finished our season a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
But
sorry.
it is on Thursday. We did finish on a Thursday.
Oh, last
But
Thursday.
yeah.
Thanks,
The
Andy.
season ended a little shorter than expected, but there's always next year.
That's right.
And the
right.
next year. So
And next year,
yeah.
2 more. Well, guys, this has been great. I think we really covered athletics from the intramural level through the club level and the varsity level, and talked about the support in our campus for athletes. Fantastic stuff. And for those of you that tuned in, I hope we answered your questions. If you do have more questions, you can send them along to me. You can find my information on the BC website, and I can maybe get some of these guys involved with answering your questions as well. We'll put this on the BC admissions portal, so you should be able to access this in case you want to watch it again or recommend it to friends. Again, you can watch it all month if you want, if that's what you're into. And hopefully you can follow the progress of Elena and Andy next year as varsity athletes. And who knows, you may see the club soccer team roll into town wherever you are next year too. Thanks for tuning in tonight, guys. And thanks for tuning into all of these if you joined us for all 7 parts. Thanks to my panel to Tuesday night. It's 8 o'clock, at least here on the East Coast. I know your time is valuable, so thanks a lot for tuning in. And for all of you, good night, everybody. Thanks, guys. Great job. Good night.